Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking down everything that Mike Wang, or Baluba as his Twitter handle is, has said about gameplay so far in NBA 2K25. Now, if you're not aware of what has changed or what has been reported to have been changed so far in 2K25 gameplay, go watch the gameplay review video that I did a couple of days ago where I talked about the gameplay courtside report, talked about the cinematic trailer that was supposed to be a gameplay preview but was much more cinematic in view, and that video breaks down the basics of the things that have been changed in gameplay. This is going to be more so just going over everything that Mike Wang has said so far about the gameplay in 2K25 and talking about how these things might change the way the game plays. So before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 30,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, tons of daily My Team content. Now I am definitely slowing down on the content and on the uploads over the next couple of weeks before 2K24, which is or 2K25, which is about a month away. So there will be one more stretch later in August where I don't upload for a few days because I'm going on vacation with my family, and then also just going to be one or two videos a day for the most part between now and 2K. So not a ton of content, but we'll be coming with all the news, all the everything there is to talk about. And in this video, I think it's good to review everything that Mike Wang has said because it expands on the stuff that we already know about 2K25 gameplay. So we'll start with this. This is his first tweet that he started with responding to people, and we'll go through basically everything he has said and talk about all these different news things. The first question is about the rhythm shooting with the right stick, which was one of the biggest changes for sure in 2K25 My Team. And the person asked, is rhythm shooting going to have a bigger green window than regular button shooting? He basically says they can't be compared one-to-one, but yes, is basically what he's saying. Rhythm shooting, it takes more skill. It's going to have a much higher upside for making shots, which means you're going to get rewarded more, whether that means larger green window or just making more whites. I don't really know, but I hope it's just larger green window because I hope you're not making a bunch of whites with rhythm shooting. There is definitely the potential for rhythm shooting to be super broken, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully it actually works pretty properly and it's not either terrible or insanely good, which both seem to be realistic possibilities. Fingers crossed that's not the case, though. We'll see. Regardless, he says he bounced back and forth for normal and rhythm shooting. I'm not honestly sure how good at the game Mike Wang actually is. I know he programs the game, but I don't know how good he actually is at playing the game. So it'll be interesting to see what we wind up using rhythm shooting for and what we wind up not using it for, how good it is, all that type of stuff. This person asked about the low risk versus high risk reward concept. And with low risk reward, you can make whites, but the bonus for good timing is much smaller. Whereas with the high risk, the green window is much larger, but you're not gonna, it's green or miss basically, but you have a much larger green window. It'll be interesting to see if low risk reward is actually good. I hope not, but it also, low risk reward makes me feel like there's a good chance it's going to be like shooting with the meter on this year, where your green window is smaller, but you make whites, especially when you're wide open. I think it'll be more so making wide open whites, but it'll be really hard to green any sort of contested shots. Whereas high risk reward will allow you to green contested shots in addition to wide open shots that'll be super easy to green if you're skilled because you'll have a big green window, but it's going to be green or miss. So I like that. Real player percentage cannot be used online. That's a W. It wasn't able to be used online last year, and I'm glad that that's the same. I'm glad that that continues. Jamal Murray got a pro play jump shot. I don't really care. Moving on. How does height factor into shot contest this year? Height and interior perimeter rating are much more important in the contest calculation this year, which means height might be more important than it was last year, because I will say 2K24, definitely height was important, but it was less important than it's been the last couple of years in My Team, especially for much of the year. And I think this might create more of a, if you have a taller player, it's harder for you to get contested. If you have a taller player, it's easier for you to get a contest with that tall player as well. And it'll be interesting to see if this makes the perimeter defense stat more valuable as well, because perimeter defense is just not a very important stat in 2K24. So hopefully that is a little bit more important in 2K25. Rhythm shooting isn't affected by users' visual cue setting, which is interesting. Definitely looks as though this is going to work differently than pressing the button in terms of your timing, because obviously these visual cues, jump, set point, push, and release are, they definitely determine basically how effective your shooting is going to be or how fast your jump shot has to be released to get it off. I generally use set point, but this looks like rhythm shooting will work the same no matter what cue you are shooting on. Next, I guess we can talk about this real quickly. 2K25 My Team news is coming the week of August 19th, which is in 2 weeks, so it'll be interesting to see what all of that looks like. Y'all know I will have y'all covered with videos on that when we get that information. Although I say that, I think I will be out of town actually, so I might not be making My Team news that day because I literally think I'm out of town on the 19th. I think I'll leave on the 18th. So that's unfortunate, I'll be honest, but I will, of course, be when I get back making videos on my team and stuff, and we'll be grinding as always. But I literally am going to be out of town with no setup or anything, so I don't think there's actually much I can really do in terms of making that video, unfortunately, on the 19th, which is a shame. But I'll make it as soon as I get back. Next, this question: how are free throws this year? Have they changed? Free throws are. Do we really care that much about this? They've been retuned based on feedback from 2K24. They work similarly to last year, but the free throw rating plays a bigger role now, so which means that free throws, just like always, will be almost impossible to miss late in the year and early in the year. They'll be. Does this matter this much? I don't really know. I guess it means the green window's tiny, like impossible to green on a free throw. I don't really know. If it's a lower rating, doesn't really matter that much. This instant green animation thing, does this matter? Not really, but there are multiple different shot feedback thoughts or shot feedback settings. There's the simple shot feedback, which is on by default, and it will display your timing feedback immediately. But if you want full shot feedback, which includes your defensive coverage, tells you how contested your shot is, you'll want to change the visibility setting to all shots. Full shot feedback is delayed, just like it was in 2K24. I will probably use all shots. Won't get shot feedback immediately, but it'll give me contest information and work for defensive contests and all that type of stuff, getting defensive shot feedback as well. Is the court to player ratio model different? This matters a lot. In my opinion, it looks like they say there is more room to operate, which improves the flow of the game and allows for certain cuts that would often get jammed up before. I'm not as concerned about the cuts portion of this. In my mind, the idea here of there being more room to operate on the court is important because it means that the defense won't be able to quite play with as annoying of rotations as it's been in the past. It'll be easier for the ball to go faster than the defense. So it'll make it harder for the defense to cover multiple spots at one time, which is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to create more of a skill gap to defense, and number two, it's going to make the game play a little bit more like it should in real life, where you can outpass rotations. If you move the ball quickly, it will reward ball movement and smart passing more than it's used to been, and I think in general that was a change that needed to be made. So this is a big change, the fact that the court is bigger. That's definitely big. Also, they talked about the spacing engine getting a huge upgrade. They already talked about this in the gameplay blog, but I do think hopefully this doesn't mean that spacing is broken as always, because freelances have been really broken the last few years. I just want my guys to stand in the corners and stand on the hashes and let me work, not cut. Provide the spacing that I want to truly be effective. How are shot meters changed in 2K25? I don't use the shot meter, so for me, I don't care much about this, but there are 3 shot meter options, which are arrow, ring, and dial, and they animate from beginning and to end in sync with the ideal time to release the button. So you're trying to release it at the exact frame the meter disappears from your screen. So at the very end is when you will be releasing it if you use the shot meter. Now, I will not be using the shot meter, but for those of y'all who do use the shot meter, you can do that, and the size, color, and placement of the shot meter is still fully customizable. There is still a bonus for playing with the meter off, which I will be doing as per the last few years. Are instant green animations back? I already read this question. He already posted that one, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. There are a number of improvements to passing. The most noticeable is improved lob pass logic. The targeting on lobs is much better in 2K25, which is really great for advanced passes or leading a receiver to the basket over a trailing defender. Control-wise, bounce alley-oops are now triggered contextually, and self-alleys have been moved to cross plus circle, A plus B. So bounce alley-oops will happen automatically then. So if you want to throw a self alley-oop, it'll be A plus B or cross plus circle. There you go. The more you know about that. Be interesting to see if the passing actually is better. Any changes to layup or dunk timing this year? Layup timing is optional. It is disabled by default. So you'd recommend turning it on if you want to gain advantage of the slasher. We'll see if layup timing actually works properly, because I may or may not turn it on. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So there are layup timing profile options. Low real player percentage, which is having it off. That will be available in online games. Low, normal, and high. So I guess that's the speed at which the layup will go. I don't know if I will wind up using layup timing or not. It will all depend on how effective it really is and how much of an advantage it gives you. Dunk timing is always on for skill dunks, but you can still dunk without using that particular mechanic. The dunk meter logic has also been improved. So instead of the window size being determined at the start of the dunk, it dynamically adjusts throughout the entire dunk sequence to better reflect defensive impact. Hopefully this doesn't make the dunk stick much worse than it used to be last year. It will likely, as y'all see in the comments, the dunk will likely be much worse, the dunk stick, than it was last year. But hopefully this will also create or take away the fake contests on the dunk meter where the dunk meter is all of a sudden tiny, even though it's a wide open dunk. That has happened on this year, so hopefully it'll prevent that, but unfortunately it looks as though it will make contact dunks way harder to do with the dunk meter in general, and will definitely nerf the dunk meter significantly, so that'll probably be a big change. How does shot feedback work with rhythm shooting? The push timing is the point you start to remove the pro stick. Tempo is the speed at which you move the pro stick to the opposite side of your original stick throw. So you're pulling it down and then with the push timing, and then pushing it up with the tempo is what they're saying, I guess is how they're describing it. This is going to feel a little slower rhythmic than any other double throw mechanics. Sorry, skill dunks or cross combos. So it looks like it's going to be a slower. Rhythm shooting is going to be slower. It's not going to be super fast. This might be really overpowered. I'm not gonna lie. I could see rhythm shooting being really overpowered. We'll see. I hope it's not unbelievably overpowered to where you can just green anything. We'll have to wait and see. There's a bajillion new pro play layups. Very good. More dribble styles. Hopefully they're good. My main request with animations like this, animation changes. You can add more animations, but if 97% of the animations still suck and there's only 2 or 3 good animations in each category, people are still only going to use those 2 or 3 animations. So I have a hard time being excited about these animations working properly. Realistically, I don't know. I have a the idea here is to create more variety in the animations that people use. But if the animations are still limited in terms of which animations are actually good, like Jamal Murray behind the back is still way better than all the other behind the backs, then people are still going to use those same animations. And you can't blame them, because people are going to use the animations that are good and effective at the end of the day. KD got a new pro play jumper. That's cool. His jumper hasn't been very good in the last couple of years, so I'm glad that's good. Right stick steals still are in the game. Gosh dang it. I was really hoping right stick gripper would be taken out. Hopefully that badge is gone or something. I don't know. I think right stick gripper is one of the worst parts about the game. Hopefully sticks steals are kind of nerfed next year. That would be nice. There's a bajillion new pro play dunks. I don't really care that much about that. 2 things that triple heads are going to have to lab on. This is the question about, did dribble moves get improvements to make them feel more fluid? It looks as though a lot of combos are moved to the right stick, apparently. A lot of dribble moves are not done by branching from right stick to left stick movement anymore. Do we really care about that? I don't know. Dribble movement is very different, apparently. Launches, turns, stops, etc. Dribble styles have a big effect on that feel. They have in the past too, so I'm not sure that's a huge change. So you guys will need to experiment, because strats and techniques from past 2Ks may not work this year, and you'll discover new ways to be effective. See, this isn't really a real answer. This doesn't actually really answer our question too much. This is well, you're gonna have to try it and find out. That's basically what that means. This is so dumb. This is, there are people out there who care about this stuff, and if that's you, credit to you. To me, I really don't care about the net on the goal having a different animation after a switch, but apparently there is more ball rim physics variety in 2K25. Very exciting. Also, more dunk SFX, different dunk animation noises. That's exciting. I don't really care about that. Well, you don't have to care. I don't really care about all this pro play animation stuff either. Yes, they've added a bajillion animations. It doesn't matter how many animations they've added if they don't work properly, and most of them aren't good. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see if there's more viability to using different animations at a competitive level than there have been as a past. Quick scoop layups got a small nerf. That's good. They were too good this year. They were definitely very cheesy with tall players, and they were abused in a lot of modes later on in the year. I think scoop layups being nerfed a little bit is probably good. You cannot perform jab steps under the basket anymore. Now, this is not something that was a big deal in my team for the most part, but in rec, and especially like competitive Pro-Am, the 2K League, that type of stuff, the jab step dunking under the basket with standing dunks with bigs was just ridiculous and obnoxious. So fingers crossed, this should change that with no more jab steps under the basket, because people would just jab step their way into getting to a spot where they had an open stick dunk for a sandy dunk under the rim, and that was obnoxious. The default shot timing profile is difficulty based, which automatically maps rookie through pro to low, all-star and superstar through pro to low. What? Rookie pro? Oh, it maps the shot timing profile will map the difficulty of your shot timing profile based on the difficulty of the game mode that you're playing in. I will wind up playing on high, normal or high, I would think, with the shot timing profile, assuming that it works properly the way that it should. Sam Hauser got a new pro play jumper. So did Cam Thomas. The whistle badge is not in the game anymore. Hopefully that nerfs running at the rim and just going up with your head cut off and getting a foul call. Lou Dort got a new jumper. The shooting model is different this year, with shot ratings playing a much larger role. They've said this for years. It'll be interesting to see if that's actually true, but for the past few years they've been saying that, and it hasn't been particularly true. Hopefully this year it is more so. You can compensate to some degree if you're really good with shot timing or rhythm shooting, but most people are gonna need higher ratings this year to shoot at last year's clip. Hopefully this is actually true, because I would be pleased if shooting is not as good this year. That'd be actually, I think, really nice if you have to actually have a slightly higher rating to shoot threes. But I don't know how much this is, again, one of those things that matters more for Pro-Am and Park and Rec and all that type of stuff than it does for my team. You can still do you can do rim hangs on one-handed dunks. Don't care about that. The new cutoff right stick defensive moves do not cost adrenaline, so that will probably be overpowered, I would guess. This is a question that I think a lot of people have. Is there a penalty for playing off-ball defense? Basically, his answer was no, but they buffed on-ball defense. And AI teammates now have perception delays, whatever that means. Hopefully what that means is that the AI will play much stupider when they have lower ratings. Now, what this still will likely create is, at the end of the year, AI defenders being overpowered as they were last year. If the higher ratings that they have, the more reactive they will be and the better they will be defensively. So this makes me think that early in the year, AI defense will not be very good. Late in the year, off-ball defense will be overpowered again. Hopefully I'm wrong and off-ball is much worse than it was this year, and it encourages people to at least play some sort of on-ball, or at least switching on and off-ball defense that takes more skill with rotations and stuff like that, and we're not just looking at off-ball switch all in the corner again this year defensively. Can you go a little deeper on the bounce alley-oops? So bounce alley-oops now happen automatically for double tapping Y, like you would throw a normal alley-oop, instead of just working the way that they used to, which is where you had to actually press A and B, or I guess it's what is it, X and circle again, or cross and circle, whatever you want to say, call it, to trigger a bounce alley-oop. Now bounce alley-oops will happen if it makes sense, which makes me think that they probably won't happen much, and if they do, they might be kind of broken, but fingers crossed I'm wrong about that. What shot timing profile is closest to how shooting works in 2K24? The shooting model is very different, apparently. If you had to pick, it would 2K24 shooting was somewhere between normal and high. That makes me think with low, it's going to be insanely easy to hit whites. But fingers crossed I'm wrong about that. We will have to wait and see, regardless what the case is with I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the shooting is like this year. Is honestly, it seems like, again, it's just going to be a wait and see for now, realistically, in terms of how good the shooting is, or how the shooting really works properly or not. Next, what changes have made to post defense? Apparently post defense contest logic works differently than other defense contest logic this year. I think this basically sounds as though with this, where they say it puts more of the make or miss on the shooter's ability to time an inherently more difficult shot, this basically sounds as though post moves are going to be overpowered again this year in a way that they haven't been likely in a couple years, where they will be really, really, really strong. And if you can time your post moves well, you're going to be able to green reds, which is going to lead to a lot of post glitching in Park and stuff, and annoying obnoxious to post hooks and post fades in a way that hasn't been the last couple of years, probably. That would not surprise me. How will hot zones affect shooting? It sounds as though there's no change. They still give you a small boost to your shot rating, so hot zones are good. Do you need post control attribute for post fades? Post control is more for post moves, not for actual post fades. Post fade success is driven by your shot rating, closer mid, and your badges. Cool. Rhythm shooting can be used on any jump shot. It is a down up motion, like they said. Whatever direction you hold right stick to start your shot, just move it again in the opposite direction to make a rhythm shot. So left to right, and then up or down, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be down up, though. Apparently you can rhythm shoot in whichever direction that feels comfortable with your fingers, is what it sounds like, which is actually kind of a cool concept. I don't really have a big problem with that. I feel like that's actually a pretty neat idea, to make rhythm shooting work in whatever way is most comfortable for the individual player. They added a new camera. It's called 2K Wire, which apparently just prevents the change of possession flip, where the camera flips on every 2K camera. So this might actually be cool for some people who don't like that change of possession flip. We'll see. I would think I will still use the standard 2K camera, but I could be wrong. I'd be interested to see what it looks like. I don't really care about this, but the Learn 2K mini games, once you get higher stars, you unlock more players for them. That's kind of neat, I guess. There have been the physics team spent a lot of time improving their player-to-player in-air collisions to make them more reliable and to maintain players' momentum and velocity better. I don't know how much that matters. This is the last note, and I think one of the more important ones, in addition to off-ball defense note and a couple other notes. I think this is a pretty important note, but this is the most recent response that Mike Wang has had, which is into NBA 2K25. If you anticipate dribble moves, apparently bump steals will be more effective than they used to be the last couple years, which is something that I think is actually probably a very cool and very good and honestly very needed change in a lot of ways, is improvements to the way that bump steals worked, because last year bump steals are really bad, and this will, I think, create a little bit, or put a little bit more of that skill gap back into defense to a certain extent, which is going to be a pretty important and pretty needed change. So I'm actually very excited to see what happens with that in the near future, because that could really open the doors for a lot of improvements and a lot of good changes that we've kind of been waiting on the last couple of years. So fingers crossed I'm right about that, and that winds up being the case, because this could definitely improve defense in a lot of ways, in a way that it used to be a couple of years ago, where bump steals were really good and really skill based, and maybe that will be the case again. So fingers crossed. With that being said, that is all Mike Wang has said. I apologize if I stumble over my words at all or anything like that, but hopefully this does a good job of breaking down for y'all the majority of the things that we really want to know right now about NBA 2K25 gameplay. And if you did enjoy the video, and hopefully it gave you some good insight on the stuff that's coming to 2K25, if that's the case, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.